What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Fantasy Daily. This time, we are doing the mock draft, as you can see here, everybody. So, I got my screen up here. You guys can't see me tonight because I want you to be able to see the full draft board as we go. I'm going to be doing a lot of scrolling, so I figured it was best to just do audio on this one. So, here we are. It is 8 o'clock. I told all my friends we were ready to go, so it is 8 o'clock. Boom, boom, boom. Confirm we are mock drafting. Dalvin Cook goes 101. Now, this is a Dynasty mock draft startup. So, we're going to be drafting as if we were starting our Dynasty teams and going from there. So, J. Cole is on the board. He is at the 102. He takes CMC because, of course, you got to take CMC early. So, this is when the running backs are going to go early. Me, personally, if I'm in a Dynasty mock draft and I'm up that early, well, if I'm in a Dynasty actual draft and I'm up that early, especially with the 101, 102, I'm going wide receiver. You can have your running backs, but I'm going wide receiver because I know I'm not getting one of the good ones on the way back. Oh, man. Is this going to make me do this? Oh. All these picks are going to, no, I'm not waiting 30 seconds on each one of these picks. No way. Whoa, somebody had some lag going on. Okay, so boom, Derrick Henry goes at 103, Alvin Kamara at 104, Devontae Adams at 105, Chubb at 106, Barkley at 107, and at 108, we got Landry on the clock. We got Landry. What do we got? So if I'm this late, I'm still going wide receiver, especially with whatever's off the board. Jonathan Taylor, that was a bold pick. I'm going Tyreek Hill there. I gotta pull up mine. I'm going Tyreek Hill here. Can I draft? Boop. I'm going Tyreek Hill here. Going back to wide receiver. So I'm going wide receiver heavy no matter what. DeAndre Hopkins is getting back up there in age. So if I go to my wide receiver rankings over here, I know I got Stephon Diggs at number 2 and Tyreek Hill at number 1. So I do want both of them for the long run. So boom, I'm taking my 2s. Got my wide receivers forever because we are Dynasty mock drafting. So these people sealing up the running backs, they're carving them all off. So this might be a good time to put my money where my mouth is, where I show you that you can go 3 wide receivers in a Dynasty draft and still end up where you want as far as running backs go for later on. So running backs are getting chewed through. We're already onto the running back 2 tier. So if I go to my running backs here, yeah, we're already halfway down the list. There's a lot of running backs on here still. That are, kind of be taken out of my rankings, so I'll be able to get maybe one of my guy in the top 10. But I doubt he'll fall, so I'll end up taking somebody between my top 11 and top 18, which I have as my running back 2 class. And I'm okay with taking a running back 2 with my 401 because I know that I'm going to have 3 great wide receivers for their entire career, or the length of their career. And I'm all about that. That's what I want. I want longevity in my players. I want players that I know I can put into those positions and have forever. So see where it goes. More running backs going off the board. There's still my guy, James Robinson. Nobody's grabbed him yet. So James Robinson would be the guy where I would be, I'm surprised James Robinson's not going off here. So it kind of just goes to show the value that people have in James Robinson. If he falls all the way to me and I can get him at the 401 after drafting my next wide receiver, I'm going to be stoked. I'm going to be absolutely ecstatic. George Kittle, Travis Kelce going pretty early. Obviously, Travis Kelce is one of those guys, but, I'll take him. George Kittle, I'm definitely not taking that early. Patrick Mahomes, I'm not taking that early. Quarterbacks, I'm never taking that early. I understand it's Patrick Mahomes in a dynasty league. Oh, my God, you got Patrick Mahomes, but I can find quarterbacks anywhere. And I don't think Patrick Mahomes is giving you those game-winning weeks as much as he did before. You can go ahead and keep adding it to it, but there might be that reality where we don't get that same Mahomes magic that we had before, where he is absolutely going 50 touchdowns every single year. So, 50 touchdowns is very difficult to do. It's not something I'm putting my dynasty stock into at a second pick. So Josh Allen goes off the board. It's back to me. And James Robinson did leave the board. Austin Eckler off the board way late. Antonio Gibson disappears, breaking my heart. DeAndre Swift went kind of early, but we're back to me. I got 15 seconds, and I'm still going wide receiver here, and I got to go early on. with who I'm going with. Julio's getting up there in age. Mike Evans I like, but Chris Godwin's a dog. I'm taking Chris Godwin. And now I know I need to go running back, but I have my 3 wide receivers forever. So I get to now choose between whether I want a rookie for a long time or somebody who I think is going to have a good season this season, and maybe, kind of both, which that's what I'm doing right here. I'm going to go Cam Akers because I think Cam Akers could have a really good season, but I also believe that Cam Akers could have a long career going ahead of him. So Cam Akers falling all the way to me at 401. This is my example of how I'm okay with what just happened, because now I have 3 wide receivers where nobody in this draft class will have, well, maybe Ryan's team. Nobody's going to have wide receivers close to as good as mine. And I'm going to try to get my second running back on the way back, maybe stack another wide receiver or grab my tight end at that point. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make sure that every single time I'm watching these picks coming up ahead to see what tight ends and what running backs go, and if I have to grab my pick there. Because if I don't see any tight ends go, I'm willing to let my tight end pick go till 7th, 8th round and not lock that up, so I can fill my flex spot or my excessive bench spots. Because I like to fill my benches with a lot of wide receivers, a lot of running backs, and tight ends. I'll never double draft the defense, a kicker, or a quarterback, because I know with whatever quarterback I do get late in the draft, I can drop him and pick up somebody else. So I'm not going to go crazy with making sure that I'm getting a quarterback in the draft that I know I have to have. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, they're all the names that we talk about all the time. But people like that, pop up every 2 years, 3 years, and it's hard to grab those guys. But if you're somebody who grabbed Joe Burrow last year, if you're somebody that grabbed Justin Herbert last year, you were pretty pleased. There's going to be 2 more guys that come out this year, and I want to know that my PPR positions are going to be locked up no matter what. And that's why no matter what, I'm always going wide receivers off the bat, full wide receiver stints. Running backs I can take a little bit later. Now, when it comes to redraft leagues, don't get that confused. I want running back heavy in redraft leagues, because running backs you can predict for 1 year a lot easier than you can for 3 or 4 years, which is what you're doing with Dynasty. You want to make sure that you have players forever. So we still see that it's coming back to me. No tight ends have gone off the board. I was hoping David Montgomery fell to me, but that's okay. We have some rookie picks going to the auto drafters, which kind of bums me out because that kind of offsets the draft over here a little bit, but that's okay. Trevor Lawrence going off the board way too early, but he is a rookie quarterback, so that will happen in a lot of your leagues. So be fortunate that a lot of these picks will happen in your leagues where somebody's going to pay up way too far than what they should have, and that's what's going to happen. So this is going to be kind of an odd pick for me, especially out of my rankings, but I'm going to scoop up Melvin Gordon here because I think he carries a good baseline and a good floor for the season. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop up Melvin Gordon here to give myself a, kind of David Johnson, David Montgomery feel last year where he was giving me 15 points and not killing me. Because now that Phillip Lindsay's gone, I think Melvin Gordon's got the job sealed up. So now look, I got all this awesome stuff that I can work with here at wide receiver, and I could just stack, which is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to take Robert Woods because I have Robert Woods far ahead of Cooper Kupp in my rankings, I believe. Actually, I think I have them pretty close, I believe. Oops, wrong mouse. I got 2 computers going over here. Where do I got Robert Woods at? So I have Robert Woods at 28, actually, and I have Cooper Kupp at 24. I don't think I've adjusted those yet, but I am higher on Woods, especially in the way that I've been looking at it lately. I'm excited for Matt Stafford to go there. I'm excited for what could happen over there with Matt Stafford. They're huge guys, but this is exactly how I would draft my team if I was going mock draft style into a dynasty league. I know that I have Cam Akers and Melvin Gordon doesn't look great, but I know that down here somewhere I'm going to pick up a couple running backs or a couple pieces that I might be able to trade up to get the running back that I'm going to want for the year. If they disappoint, something like that happens, and then I have my wide receivers stacked up for the year, my flex spots stacked up for the year. So there goes Mark Andrews. That's a great spot for you to start drafting tight ends or to make a tight end pick when your team has some structure like this. So me personally, if I was this team, I would have went wide receiver to make sure that I have that 3 stack locked down. But tight end over here I am okay with. This is way too early for me. Same thing with quarterbacks here. Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray I'm sort of okay with here. But once again, I'm the type of drafter where I don't recommend drafting quarterbacks that early anywhere in Dynasty because I'm willing to grab them in the 9th or 10th round, and I'll show you why. We'll see how many options are in there in the 9th and 10th round and see how many names that you're satisfied with. Quarterbacks that come in as rookies, you don't know what's going to happen. Waiver wire quarterbacks like Ryan Tannehill become starters. People like Baker Mayfield become, relevant. I got Daniel Jones this year that I'm really, I like seeing Daniel Jones on boards. I like seeing him on teams. So I think, so these back-to-back tight ends, that's going to happen a lot. You're going to see boom, 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 as soon as one or two go, it's dominoes, especially with tight ends. So keep an eye out for that. This is where I am going to start looking at tight ends, where I said earlier, where if you want to keep an eye on the way the draft is flowing, the way that boards are moving, because if that domino effect goes, that's when you got to bite at it. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to take a look at what I got. And if I look at the other wide receivers and running backs and think, okay, there's no way I can pass up on these guys, then that's when I'm going to pass up on what I'm doing here. So looking at the tight ends, I'm not huge on everything that's going on here. I do like Jared Cook in LA. Not huge with any of the names that are here. So I'm actually going to go back to running backs and wide receivers. I'm going to grab, I don't want David Johnson. Oh, yay, they gave me David Johnson, whatever. So running backs, I'm not crazy about them, but I am going to go back to wide receivers. I'm huge on Rashad Bateman. I really like him. I hope he's going to Tennessee. We'll see what happens there. But Jalen Waddle here is absolutely amazing. He's going to go in the first or second round, so I really can't pass that up, especially in a dynasty startup draft. I wish I knew where his destination was, but if this is where you were doing your startup drafts, I definitely would take Jalen Waddle here. So as you can see, I'm still stacked up on running backs and wide receivers. I'm not ready to go tight end yet because I'm not crazy about the names that are here. Evan Ingram's probably the best name that's here, and I don't even expect him to be the majority leader on that team with tight end because he's struggled himself at times. I don't think that was a Daniel Jones lacking weapons problems. I think that was just a team structure problem and an Evan Ingram problem in himself. So when it comes to, making sure that I have a tight end on my team, I'm not stressing it enough in dynasty leagues, in, mostly any leagues, to be honest. I mean, I guess in redrafts leagues at third, fourth round, I'm ready to go towards them if they're falling off the board like dominoes, but that's really only when I'm looking, and I'm okay with letting people fall. But you do have to kind of keep an eye on the tight end board like you see me doing now. I am kind of keeping an eye on the board, making sure that not every name falls off to the point where I'm looking at the bottom of the barrel and I have nothing to go through with it. So Evan Ingram gets picked up. So this guy's got 2 tight ends. That's great for him because he's going to be able to leverage that later on in his, whether it's this year, a following year, whatever, he's going to be able to leverage that. And this is really good leverage for him. Kyle Pitts and Evan Ingram, if you end up getting that stack, that's huge. Logan Thomas goes here. I do like Logan Thomas. I'm high on him this year, so that's a great pickup for them. Moving on, T.Y. Hilton, Marquise Brown, Tylan Wallace. I don't even know who that is. So seeing him go here, that's another one of those picks where it kind of offsets the draft a little bit because we have some CPU drafts. So I'm still keeping my eye on tight ends. I do have one name in here, but I can see that on my live stream. I have somebody who has a pick in front of me watching, so I don't want to make sure that he doesn't grab my person. Oh, he just went, so okay, never mind. I'm looking at right now. Hold on. I don't trust John. Just in case he is watching, he'll pick just to spite me. I know him. He'll do it just to ruin my show. So let's see where he goes here. I think wide receiver. Time's up. He gets auto-drafted. Jarvis Landry. Boom. There goes Jarvis Landry. That's a good pick. Way down at the 9th round. That's an amazing pick. Devin Singletary goes. So I'm going to need my tight end here, but now that I have time, I know who I'm drafting. I'm going to take a look at all the wide receivers that are left. Take a look at the running backs. I do really like Raheem Mostert. Yeah, I think I want that. I'm taking Raheem Mostert because I don't expect them to take a running back this year. Going back to my tight end, this is actually a tight end that I'm pretty high on. Austin Hooper, everybody. I expect Cleveland to be an okay offense this year, so I'll take Austin Hooper. And this is what I mean by tight ends and waiting, watching. I have an absolutely stacked team at wide receiver and running back, and I'm basically done with what I need. Excuse me. I'm basically done with what I need and with what I want at wide receiver and running back. So now while everybody else has already drafted their quarterback, their tight end, blah, 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 and at this point they're going to start trying to draft bench, and then they're going to be drafting defense, I'm going to be a round or two ahead of them. So you'll see it. This is the strategy that I prefer with every single draft, that no matter what, by this time, if you go straight just like this, you're going to be picking up scraps, and I won't lie, but look at the positions that you're doing it at. Tight end, quarterback, who cares? look at all these positions that I have to swap every single week. I don't have to worry about bye weeks unless they're stacked on top of each other, with which this strategy, when I go with it in dynasties, I never really have to worry about bye weeks because I only have to worry about 1 or 2 weeks that I might lose, but I have such a powerhouse that I'm not scared to lose those guys. So here it comes. It's rolling back. I'm going to take a look at the wide receivers, see if there's anything else I can grab that I would want for the future. Right here, I'm a big fan of Noah Fant, but I don't like the offense until I figure out where the quarterback situation goes here. Mike G I like, but Miami's rumored to take Kyle Pitts, so I'm not trusting that. AJ Green, yeah, see, I'm not a big fan of any of these guys. Actually, I'm really surprised that Tyler Boyd's still on the board. We might scoop him up in a second because that's huge. I like that a lot. So let's take a look at who's on the quarterback board still. We got Drew Brees, who's not playing anymore. Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Joe Burrow. So if I'm seeing this many names loaded at quarterback, I'm not going to quarterback. I'll even go to kicker. Matt Prater, which Matt Prater being on Arizona is my #1 kicker this year, just so we can talk about that. But see, I'm already looking at kicker and defense. Nobody right now is thinking of looking at kicker or defenses, so I'm already a league ahead of everybody where I can draft whatever I want now because my team's basically done. So let's go ahead and grab a quarterback, I guess. This is probably where people will start taking their second quarterback, so we might as well fill this spot so we're not left in the dust and our team looks pretty good. I'm a Joe Burrow stan, so let's go ahead and grab Joe Burrow. That guy drafts Drew Brees, so because why not? I'm going to open up this window. Y'all see a little better now? So waiting on John here, but as you can see, so now this is where now that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This guy's got 9. So there's 9 quarterbacks off the board, and like I said, this is probably where quarterbacks start really going, and everybody starts getting their second picks. And this is usually where it happens. But as you can see from the wide receiver, running back, draft strategy that I have here, especially in dynasty leagues, these people are grabbing either second place things. Here's a live person grabbing more running backs, more wide receivers. You know what I mean? But he's stuck with Chase Edmonds. He's stuck with Michael Gallup. This guy's stuck with Noah Fant as a second, tight end. He gets Kyle Trask there. He gets Carson Wentz. So he's grabbing extra pieces that you don't need at all because you're not drafting 2 quarterbacks. You know better than to draft 2 quarterbacks. Nobody drafts 2 quarterbacks. You don't need 2 quarterbacks. You only need 1 to put in that spot, and if you don't like that one, you can drop anybody else later on because it's easy. But look at all this. Boom, 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 boom. Maybe David Johnson. Boom, boom, boom. But this is a team that I would be stoked going into the season with because you have all these insane wide receivers on your team, all these running back 2s that you have on your team that could potentially be running back 1s in weeks. And you have a lot of draft capital coming up. So speaking of trade capital coming up. So speaking of trade capital, let's go back to my strategy that I was talking about earlier, where I want to load up at some tight ends that I think could end up being something later on in the year, and you can trade them for high later on. So with this draft, we actually didn't take into account the amount of bench spots that you would have in a dynasty league. So I'd be looking at it, but if I was that guy right now, I'd be looking at Mike G, Robert Tonyan, Eric Ebron, Mike G, Tyler Higbee. I'd be looking at a lot of tight ends that I could, flex into a spot where I want. So Matt Prater's here. I like him. Boom, I'm taking it. Taking my kicker, and I'm taking my defense. And my team's basically done now. I think Tampa Bay is my #1 defense this year. So, look, I got my kicker. I got my defense. I was 3 rounds ahead of everybody before we even got to here. So I absolutely love this strategy when it comes to Dynasty. I am never dissatisfied with a team when I do these drafts. Most of my redraft leagues is basically the same exact strategy, except I slipped a tight end in there to the point where, I'm going to draft wide receiver and running back like crazy. In redraft leagues, I'm usually putting running backs a little bit higher than I am wide receivers. So I'll probably, if I'm in the redraft league, I'm usually looking for running back here, unless your board does kind of look like this, where only one other wide receiver went. Then I'm kind of just like, all right, fine, I might as well take the best wide receiver available, see what I can grab running back here, unless there's something like this on the board, where I'm going to take a Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs stack over having somebody like Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders. And I think everybody can agree with that. You know what I mean? So kind of take this as, case evidence here that, I walk the walk, I talk the talk. telling you, man, this is the best strategy, the way to go about it. Everybody's grabbing all this stuff. You were way ahead. You could have did it up here, but instead you grabbed Tyler Boyd and Joe Burrow. You got a gnarly stack. You're killing it. So good, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Last pick, Mr. Irrelevant. Oh, it's my pick. I forgot. So who's Mr. Irrelevant? Tevin Coleman on the Jets? No. Marvin Jones in Jacksonville with the last pick? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So look at this. Look at this team, man. Look at this team. Unstoppable. Unstoppable. We're already in the playoffs, and I'm not even setting my lineup for the year. It's ridiculous. I love it, man. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight on Fantasy Daily. I hope you enjoyed this mock draft. A lot of stuff